Hello, this is Paul Martelli. Over the last 35 years of personal growth and development, I've set and tried to achieve goals. And in the very beginning, I would fail. And it seemed like I was doing things that everybody else was doing, but I would somehow not get the results in the very end. I would miss reaching the goal. And after a lot of study, I've come to realize that there are 5 mistakes that we make when we set goals. And that if you make one of these mistakes when you are in the process of actually setting the goal, it almost doesn't matter what you do in the process of goal achievement, you are most likely going to fail. In other words, your failing to achieve the goal has very little to do with your skill, talent, ability, or resourcefulness. All of those things you can change, you can develop, you can get better, you can grow, you can make more connections. But it's these 5 things that take us off course, and it almost inevitably leads to a fatal failure. So here's the first one. The first one is when people set goals for what they know they can do. Les Brown famously said that people fail not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. See, when you're setting goals for what you know you can do, companies do this all the time. They'll set goals to grow, 10% per year. The problem is that there's no real, inspiration in going after what you know you can get. The truth is, whether you're going for a small incremental change or a big change in your result, no matter what happens, you're going to fail in the process. Like, as you start to do anything new, there's going to be a failure. Anytime we step outside of our comfort zone and we try to do something that we've never done before, we will usually fail. That's actually how we learn and how we grow from the failure. The feedback loop tells us, okay, that piece didn't work. The problem is if the reward isn't worth the failure, if the failure is, such a great consequence that it actually exceeds what the reward would be, then we quit. And there's no inspiration. So by actually setting the goal too low, we actually set ourselves up to actually fail, because in the process of failure, we figure it's just not worth it. It's not worth the pain. So I might as well step back into my old ways of doing things. That's what Maslow taught, right? He said that we either step forward into our growth or we revert backwards to safety. And if the reward isn't big enough, if the goal doesn't inspire us, we will default to quitting. The second mistake that we make when we set goals is we develop a big plan for the achievement. And the problem is that when we look at all of the conditions and circumstances of today, and we base everything that we can see for what we want to achieve based on the conditions and circumstances of today, and we're predicting what we can get as a result or for a goal and how we're going to achieve that goal. The problem is by the time we're done writing out that exhaustive plan, well, everything begins to change. As soon as we finish writing the plan, all of those conditions and circumstances change. So somebody says, we're gonna reach a new goal and we're gonna get our existing customers to buy. We've got 3 or 4 people in the pipeline, and if we close 1 or 2 of those deals, and we've got 3 or 4 new people we're gonna bring on the sales team. And if oil prices are here, and if the Senate is here, and the Congress is here, and this is who the president is, and we have all these conditions and circumstances that we're basing our plan on. When we go out to achieve the goal, when those plans and the conditions for them change, guess what happens? We fail. We have fallen so much in love with the plan. All of our creative energy, all of our focus has been on working the plan. Companies, again, they do this all the time. Maybe they're going to have a plan for growth for their team, and they write out this exhaustive plan, pull everybody into a hotel. They spend the next 3 days on let's focus. This is the plan. This is the plan that we're going to execute. And everybody falls in love with the plan. Everybody, that becomes the gospel truth to them. Then when you interview them on their way out of the hotel and ask them, hey, just by curiosity, what's the goal? Like, they don't know what the goal is because they've been programmed to follow the plan, fall in love with the plan. Everything's about the plan. And the truth is that the law of vibration, one of the 7 laws that govern the creation of anything and everything in the universe, the law of vibration decrees that there's a vibrational movement in everything, that there's no such thing as inertia. So all the conditions and circumstances as they are right now are also in a process of change. And if you're basing everything you're going to do and you're basing all of your activity on this plan, and that's where all of your creative energy is, and you have a belief that it's the plan that has to work, what happens is as we begin to fail to hit the targets, we lower the goal to meet the plan. It never occurs to us to scratch the plan. The reason for that is because we put so much time, so much investment into creating the plan. We spent 6 months working on the plan, 3 months trying to execute the plan to reach the goal. And when we begin to fail, what we do is we say, well, we're not going to be able to reach the goal this year. So let's lower the goal this year and let's stick with the plan. It's a recipe for failure. And I think one of the reasons why we do this is the third reason why we fail to achieve goals. It's because we believe that we have to know how we're going to achieve it. That's the purpose of the plan. The purpose of the plan is to give us a blueprint of how we're going to do it. And the truth is that we don't know how to do anything. We really don't know how to do anything until we've done it. As a matter of fact, I use as an example in my seminars and training is I'll ask somebody in the front row if we'll give them a microphone and ask them to describe all the necessary movements in advance for them to stand up. Now, they've been standing up their whole lives. You know, a person in the audience who's 50 years, my goodness, they've been standing up for 49 of those 50 years. They're professional stander-uppers. And yet, if they had to tell us all the physiological, neurological adjustments necessary for them just to stand up, they would never be able to do it. What they begin to do is they begin to move their body, they shift their weight, they begin to apply pressure on certain parts of their feet, they begin to lean forward to get momentum, and then they tell us what they did after they've done it. But they can't tell us in advance something as simple as standing up, something we do all the time. And yet, we think that we're somehow going to have some predictive plan and that we require us of knowing how we're going to achieve maybe a doubling of our income or a 25% growth of our business, or how we're going to attract new clients or new talent to the company. We'll never know how to do anything until we've done it. Salk did not know how he would create the vaccine for polio. Edison didn't know how he would illuminate the world. Dr. Jarvik didn't know how he'd create the heart. The Wright brothers didn't know how they would introduce us to the kingdom of flight. See, knowing how to do something has never gotten us anywhere. What has gotten us somewhere is knowing why we were doing it. And so the strategy here is we have to suspend the requirement of knowing how. The plan is at best a guess. We cannot be attached to the plan. We have to stay attached to the goal. And we cannot require that we know exactly how something's going to happen. As a matter of fact, most people will have a dream. We'll call that a goal. Most people will have a dream. And the minute they share their dream with somebody else, the first question somebody asks is, well, how are you going to do that? Of course, the implication there is if you don't know how you're going to do it, well, then that means you can't do it. And nothing can be further from the truth. Everything you do successfully right now, you learned without knowing how to do it. You failed all the way there. The fourth mistake in setting goals and achieving goals is we question whether we're even worthy of the goal. We question whether we're worthy of the good that we desire. Here's what I know, is that in goal achievement, you are going to have to trade your life for it. You see, I kind of in the continuum of truth, at one degree of truth, what's happening right now is I'm recording a video. This is taking my time. It's taking my life force. It's taking my energy. I'm putting my whole self in creating this video and this program. You're taking the time to sit there right now and watch it and pay attention, and you're doing this. You're not spending time with your kids. You're not out playing with your dog. You're not out pursuing your dreams. You're trading your life, and I'm trading my life for our time together right now. We should never question whether we're worthy of the goal. We should be questioning whether the goal is worthy of us. See, what I know is that your goal, your dream, doesn't want some of you. It wants all of you. It doesn't want some of your energy. It wants all of your energy. It doesn't want some of your creativity. It wants all of your creativity. It doesn't want some of your time. It wants all of your time. It doesn't want some of your intellect. It wants all of your intellect. It doesn't want some of your money. Your dream wants all of it. Your dream is going to require all of you. And therefore, the goal you set and your attitude going in is that the goal must be worthy of the trade for your time, your talent, and your treasure. The last mistake we make when we set goals is we think the purpose of the goal is for us to get something. So we set a goal to build $1 million company. We think the purpose of the goal is to reach the $1 million. Or we have a goal to buy a new boat or buy a new airplane, and we think the purpose of the goal is to get that thing. The purpose of a goal is never to get something. The purpose of a goal is to cause you to grow, is to incentivize you to go beyond the invisible boundaries you've set for yourself in your own belief system. It's purpose to incentivize you to go beyond your comfort zone, your zone of knowing. It's purpose to incentivize you to step out of your head and into your greatness. It's purpose to incentivize you to develop your full potential. The purpose of the goal isn't to get something. The purpose of the goal is for you to become the person who can be, do, or have it. The truth is if our perception or our attitude is that we have to get something, we have to assume that we don't have it already. Now, this piece sounds about as bizarre as anything you'll ever hear. But the truth is that the idea or dream that you have right now, let's say the dream you have is to generate $1 million income. See, you don't need to go get that. As a matter of fact, that $1 million business is already built. It's just not in physical form. See, everything you see has been created twice. It first starts in the mind. You know it first as the ideation, as you know it as an idea. And then as you focus on that idea, as you increase the amplitude of the vibration of the energy of that idea, you begin to attract people and conditions and circumstances that are in harmony with what it is that you want to create. It's not about getting something. It's about creating the conditions and circumstances for you to become aware of your oneness with it. See, my question is where was that idea before you got it? See, when you get the idea, you didn't just make something. You didn't make something out of nothing. It always had to be here. That idea is a thought, and thought is energy. And what do we know about energy? Well, we know that energy can't be created or destroyed. So if energy can't be created or destroyed, your dream and the idea of it has always been here. It's just been at a different frequency. It was in etheric form. I call it a spiritual seed. It was a spiritual seed. It was in the mind of the universe or in the mind of God. And then through a process of desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility within you, seeking expression with and through you. As you desired it, you increased the amplitude of vibration of your thinking, and you became aware of an idea for you. The next natural and lawful expression of that idea is to move into physical form. Now, that sounds as bizarre as almost anything you'll hear, but it's also absolute truth. It's the lawful, creative process of how everything in the universe is created. So these are the 5 mistakes that we make when we set goals. And if you make one of these 5 mistakes in setting goals, I can almost guarantee you, regardless of your skill, talent, or ability, you will fail to achieve your goal. So everything matters, especially in setting goals. Setting goals is an intellectual process. Achieving goals is a lawful process. So when we're setting goals, we're using one of our 6 intellectual faculties. Just as we have 5 senses, the ability to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, we have 6 intellectual faculties: perception, reason, memory, will, imagination, and intuition. And when we set goals, what most people do is they activate their reasoning faculty, which is based on their logic. Our logic is based on what we believe. Our beliefs drive our behavior. And up until now, you don't believe that you're capable of having what it is that you want. If you did, you'd be doing it. But you don't. And the entire process of goal setting is to cause you at first to think into and beyond what you logically think you can do. That requires not reasoning. That requires intuition and imagination. We become intuitively aware of a desire. We imagine what it is that we want. And then, and only then, do we begin to do things that cause us to become aware of our oneness with what it is that we want. And in doing that, we begin to feel worthy of what it is that we want. We scrap the old way of doing things. We don't become attached to any particular process or plan. We simply do the next thing in front of us to do that's in harmony with that dream. So I encourage you, as you go through this program and as you set goals based on what it is that you really want. What's causing you to become aware of an unexpressed possibility? What's your desire? Focus on that. When you do that, then you go into the lawful process of achieving goals. Thank you.